So a big turning point, and a couple of things I remember very clearly. I remember one time sitting with my sister in the car. She'd come to see me at my parents' house because I lived in my parents' house as a converted garage, and I lived in there. My sister, who'd married before me, had come to see me at the house, and we were sitting in the car. And I said, she's like, "Oh, what's up, man?" I said, "Look, man, things are really rough. Things are really rough." She hands over. She puts her hand in her bag, takes out an envelope, £400, and hands it to me. That for me was one of my lowest points. The choices I'd made up to that stage of my life were not really working. The second biggest change, and was the one that's really become a huge catalyst, was
Ken, thank you for coming down to the podcast.
Yay, I'm excited, man. Really honored firstly for that I've been invited to come on this podcast and this platform more generally. So yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And I'm honored that you've made the trip and come down here. So thank you very much. And I'm very much looking forward to speaking with you today and learning some gems, learning a hell of a lot of stuff from yourself.
Yes.
To kick things off, one thing that you and your wife, probably, I'm sure most people actually are going to know you and your wife for, well, obviously Humble Penny, but the fact that you became financially independent and mortgage free by 34 years old, which sounds, I don't even know what the word is. It sounds impossible to a lot of people, but you and your wife are able to do that at a very young age as well.
Yes.
How has your life changed since you found that financial independence?
Do you know what? There's so many things that have happened. I must think of financial independence as almost a platform for other things to happen in your life. So for me, one thing it's done is it's enhanced my fatherhood. You know, I'm able to be present for children in more ways than ever, you know, because before, when I worked in my last corporate roles, I worked in a venture capital business as a chief financial officer. I was always working, man. You know, I rarely went to school events, you know, I didn't know the parents at school. I was just rarely present. You know, some days I'd go to work and I'd come back and kids would be in bed and I'd leave before they'd woken up. So one thing it's done for me on a personal level is it's just made me a much better dad and husband. You know, I'm just able to be there. In addition to that, just my well-being is just like improved so much because, again, I'm not stressing because money does something to you mentally. It just messes with your head all the time. You're thinking about paying your bills and trying to meet up and catch up with stuff. And I've been through that phase. So almost offloading that mental stress has been incredible for me on a personal level. But together as a family, you know, like it's created a ridiculous foundation for our children. Just think about it. Like our kids now can say, do you know what? Because mommy and daddy were able to steward their finances really well on their journey, here are the opportunities it's been able to open for us. We've learned how to manage. They've learned to, our kids are, they're learning to invest. They're investing their own money. You know, they're learning entrepreneurship, you know, so there's so many things, like even the Humble Penny. You know, some people don't even realize that starting the Humble Penny and Financial Academy is only possible because we've been able to create a foundation financially such that even when you have cycles, as you have in any business, any operation you're running, when things don't go as well, if you're able to be okay, like for example, I don't have to think about a mortgage because it's been paid off. I don't have to think about paying for a car because we just bought an affordable car and paid cash for it. I don't have to think about so many things because they're no longer worries, you know, day to day. So that creates a lot of, you're operating from a place of more intention. You're not just driven by greed. Like, do you understand?
Yeah.
Because ordinarily people are making a lot of decisions in their lives because they're trying to pay their bills, right? Whereas I'm able to say, actually, I don't want to work on this project. I want to work on this one because something about it aligns with my intentions, with my values and that sort of thing. So I'm able to make better choices. So there's so many things. And then obviously there's around giving back is a massive thing. You know, the whole reason why we're doing what we're doing is because the vast majority of our work is free. You can access it anywhere on YouTube, Instagram, our website. So again, it's about how do I now take what I have, the things that we've learned on this journey, how do we give that back to other people, whether they be family members, friends, strangers, whoever. So it just carries on giving. So this is why I'm very passionate about this whole idea of helping enable people, Mary and I together, helping to enable people get to a place where they can say, do you know what? we're financially free or we're financially independent. And it's not just so I can chill out and I'm at the beach and like just do my own thing, but so that you can then say, so that I can be a bit more fearless and do X, Y, and Z. I can pursue that passion more boldly. I can take a bit more risks doing this. I can have more time to my family or to pursue some of my interests. So there's so many things that come out from doing it, but you start to realize those things the more you go on that journey. But the thing is, most people don't go on that journey because most people subscribe to a different lifestyle, which is that whole living paycheck to paycheck, keeping up, paying for things monthly. Like it's a cycle. And once you're in that cycle, it's hard to break out, but it's possible.
When with the paying off the mortgage so early, relatively early compared to other people who are paying mortgages, and achieving that level of financial independence so young as well, what comes to me as you're speaking, a book popped into my head. I don't know if you know this book. It's called the Millionaire Next Door.
Yes.
And in the book, just to really shorten it down, the author talks about how the average millionaire essentially is just a smart person with their money. They make their money, they save, they invest, and over time they eventually accumulate enough wealth to become a millionaire. It's not necessarily like the celebrities who make quick money or people you see on TV, on Instagram, that kind of thing. It's person that's smart over time, which it sounds like you and your wife were. You were just smart over time, making astute financial decisions. To do that, it requires a massive level of delayed gratification.
Yes.
Like where you could be your CFO, so you're probably earning a decent amount of money. You could be living up, like really.
Oh yeah.
Really living up and living your best life. But then you've delayed so that you can get to where you are now. Is that a skill you had to learn? Were you always like that? Or did you go for a stage where maybe you're a bit more frivolous and then over time, like, you know what, I've got to take it easy?
So thanks for highlighting that. So I haven't always been like this. So let's go back. So anyone listening to this might not have the backstory. So I'm a first generation immigrant to the UK. So I moved here when I was 14 and we moved here and struggled in this country in the UK because we didn't have everything that people, if you got on the street, as people like, one of the things people worry about the least is their residency. Like I struggled with that when I moved to the UK with my family. And when you don't have your residency sorted out, you can't do some basic things. Yeah, you can't go on the NHS, health service. You can't claim benefits. You can't do. There's a lot of things you can't do. You can't just get a normal job as well. So having those challenges meant that we basically began below most people, like ground zero, even below ground zero. But because of that, it also made us more determined and creative about how we try to solve our problems. And entrepreneurship was one of those pathways. So I've learned a lot of things I've learned on this journey through watching my parents and how they've navigated money, their relationship with money, their relationship with each other, and how that relationship with money affects us as children, and how scarcity affects life, family life, and that sort of stuff. And when I started to make my way out of all of that, I started to take my education seriously and studying and going to uni and what have you. And I eventually started training as a chartered accountant, started to make some money. Yeah. But the thing is, because I was driven by scarcity, I needed to show people that I was becoming wealthy. Yeah. So I was making I started out, my first pay, I was around 22K a year. But if you looked at me, you'd think I was making a lot more, right? I had a really nice car. I had these, I think 18 or 19 inch rims, was nice Mercedes. I had a Rolex watch. I had this Cartier bracelet. It had to look like, and I was being driven by what I was seeing. I would look at my friends, I'd look at social media, I'd look at just anything that made me appear like I was successful. Yeah. And all those things were actually holding me back, but I wasn't owning up to it. And that's because I had pretty poor self-awareness. I had almost a lack of confidence in myself to say, actually, I don't need these things to give me my self-worth. I don't need the really nice watch for me to, and by the way, anyone can buy whatever they want with their money. But for me personally, I didn't feel I needed that. But then I felt the social pressure to keep up, to look successful. And also this comes with being single. Back then I was just on my own, like trying to like find my way and that whole thing about dating. So again, you want to compete and, come across attractive to the world so that you either make friends or you meet a future partner and what have you. So I had very little in my bank account, but I looked like I had a lot of money.
Yeah.
So a big turning point, and a couple of things I remember very clear. I remember one time sitting with my sister in the car. She'd come to see me at my parents' house because I lived in my parents' house as a converted garage and I lived in there. My sister, who'd married before me, had come to see me at the house and we were sitting in the car and she's like, "Oh, what's up, man?" I said, "Look, man, things are really rough. Things are really rough." And it's interesting because we're sitting in her car, but across from me over there was my Mercedes. I'm in the car saying to her, "Things are really rough." She hands over, she puts her hand in her bag, takes out an envelope, £400 and hands it to me. That for me was one of my lowest points because that represented almost a taboo in a way because your younger sister giving you money, even though you have things going on in your life, but then it's just the choices I'd made up to that stage of my life were not really working. The second biggest change, almost the one that's really become a huge catalyst, was then meeting my wife, Mary. 2009. And what was interesting when I met Mary, and there's a whole backstory about how we met, but what was really interesting was when I met Mary, I was earning a lot more than she was, but she had a lot more than I did in savings. Yeah. And if you looked at our lives, and because Mary grew up in a home where she comes from the Ijebu tribe in Nigeria, and people from that part of the world are known to, they're known to really watch how they spend and watch how that she's good at negotiating, that kind of stuff. So she was good at kind of keeping her money and saving it, and had this goal of trying to get on the property ladder. So meeting someone like that made me realize actually the people you have around you matter.
Yeah.
When it comes to achieving certain outcomes. And as God will have it, we both had quite similar goals long term, which is that, we kind of want to come out of this world where we're doing life like our parents did, working till maybe 67 or 68 or whatever to hope to retire, having that mortgage till for 25, 30 years and being imprisoned by that. I think we both had this picture of what we wanted to achieve in our lives. But meeting her was a huge catalyst because I started to reassess a lot of my life, and a lot of it really wasn't going how I wanted. I needed to really scale back my lifestyle. And I feel that a lot of people need that point of, I think of them as point of no return events. It could be that you've been made redundant. It could be that you've had a divorce. It could be that you've had a life event. Something's really happened and tripped you over, and the doctor said to you, you've only got X number of years or months or whatever. Or it could be that you're just living paycheck to paycheck and you're like, you know what? Enough's enough. I'm earning good income, but why do I never see any money in my bank account? There's so many of these events that I call a point of no return event that really just makes you, okay, reassess where you are and think of how you move forward from there. So this is where this change then started to happen gradually, but it was not an overnight thing.
For sure. And you and your wife, so you met her first time, what, 2009 you said?
2009.
So it was 15 years ago. So 15? Is that the maths?
Yeah,
that's the maths, yeah.
Yeah, that is maths, yes. Yeah. For where we are now in 2024.
So you've been building for 15 years or so together. And now you've got to the stage where you are now. Something that you and your wife talk about quite a bit is side hustles.
Yes.
So a lot of people are going to probably come across on your socials and they're going to hear about, you two, you bought your house, no mortgage quite quickly and all of that. But they'll look at you and say, no, but, there's excuses, and I can hear the excuses a bit, but Ken was working this job as your CFO and earning this, or Mary was doing this, or they had this, they had that. And of course, maybe there's some things or whatnot, but you talk a lot about side hustles. And I'd like to explore that a little bit. In this day and age, first of all, how much do you, for someone that's doing something full-time job or other full-time commitments, how much could they realistically expect to make from a side hustle alongside their other full-time commitments? And are there any best kind of, I don't know if there's a best, but if there are there best things that you'd recommend people to look into?
Sure. So the thing to realize is that side hustles or businesses come in different shapes and sizes. So some have this much potential, some have this much potential, depending on the model that you're running with that side hustle. Yeah. So for example, if you are, I don't know, let me make it up. You're a bookkeeper, and what you do is you're like, you know what? I'm going to take my bookkeeping skills and I'm going to try and offer it as a service. You're simply swapping your time for some income, for some money. And there's obviously a lot of limitation with that, because if you're ever ill, there's no money to be made. If you're, you know, if you just don't feel like it, if you want to just Netflix and chill, there's no money to be made, right? So there's a limitation naturally with that sort of thing. And that's what people might we refer to as a service-based business, right? So you're offering a service of some capacity, whether you're a graphic designer or, you know, what have you. You're basically swapping a skill you have and offering a service. Now, with that, the service-based model, you can have service-based models that are actually quite lucrative. For example, you could offer group coaching. I might take my skill as a professional. I teach people how to launch businesses, for example. I might offer that skill to a group of people, making it up. If I offered them a program over maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks, that might cost, say, making it up, £3,000 for each person. If I did that for 10 people, that'd be £30,000 over 8 weeks, right? But my time commitment is limited because I'm putting in maybe 2 hours per week to a group of people to deliver that outcome. So you can see I'm using less time, or the same time even with the person who's in bookkeeping, but I'm making a lot more because of the model I've chosen. I've done a one-to-many model. Yeah. That's one way of looking at it, service-based. Or you could look to explore a product where you are you're finding something where you are literally white labeling something someone else has created, and you're selling it on Amazon or wherever, or Etsy, or you're essentially creating a brand, and that brand has a premium attached to it, and you're again selling products via these various channels or via your own website using Shopify or what have you on your own site. That's another model, right? And that requires quite a lot of capital input, quite a fair bit of time to actually take off, and takes a while. The service base, you can make money straight away. The product base takes a while and requires a lot of investment. Then there's a content-based model, similar to what I do right now with the Humble Penny or Financial Academy. With that, you're actually using media as leverage. Right. A bit like, you know, when you go to invest in property and you put down, say, 25% deposit, the bank puts down 75%. By the bank putting down 75%, they're amplifying returns that you're making on your own money, because your ROI is based on the money you put in divided by, you know, the profit you get out of the investment. So your returns are a lot larger. In the same way, media content, this interview we're doing, for example, has that potential to act as leverage, because once I create this piece of content, it has the power to keep working over time. I do the work once, I might do a bit to maintain it, it then takes off. So depending on your interests, your personality, and your vision, a content-based side hustle will take a while. It will be dripping like that. It will be very flat initially, maybe for the first 12 months, and then it will start to take off. The problem is most people aren't prepared to wait for 12 months.
Yeah.
They're not prepared to do the work for 12 months.
Yeah.
Because TikTok and all the short form content has taught us that, nah, I just want a 15-second video. If someone's talking for more than 15 seconds, I'm bored. I want to go and watch something else. Flick, flick, flick. So they leave. Yeah. Whereas the people who stick around actually reap the rewards. The Humble Penny could have just become successful by me just sticking around. That's it. A lot of people, I can think back to when we started, or people who are starting various things, they've dropped off because they didn't have the stamina. They didn't have the vision. They didn't have the patience. They didn't have that persistence. Yeah. So with a content-based side hustle or business, you're jabbing mostly. Jab, jab, value, 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 value. That's all you're doing. Value, value, value. What that value does, it builds know, like, and trust constantly. But because it's going out to, again, the one-to-many, it's empowering leverage, and it's able to begin to scale over time. So when people then talk to me about side hustles, oh, what should I do? What should I do? I'm like, okay, I actually built like a quiz. And you might put it in your show notes for people who are interested. It's a free quiz. You can go and do it. But a quiz helps people say, actually, which of these models are best suited to me, depending on my personality, depending on how much I want to earn, depending on how much time I've got. And so this is actually something that I had to think about when we started Humble Penny. I only had 2 hours a day. Question is, what could I do in my 2 hours that will have the biggest impact long term? For me, it wasn't service-based.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't product-based. For me, it was content-based. I saw that as I could create something in London, someone in America could watch it, in Canada, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Jamaica, in wherever, and it will have impacts without me even knowing. And it could then gradually start to snowball. Yeah. So it would differ for various people depending on what would be the most optimal side hustle. But for me, in my experience, depending on your goals, I really like the content-based model. But that might not suit everybody else because they might have different goals and they might have different, capital requirements and what have you to get something started.
With this content-based model, so there was a survey. Again, I've forgotten. I don't know the exact numbers just coming to my head, but they surveyed some children somewhere. I don't know whether here or US or wherever. Anyway, they asked them what they want to be. And the number one job that they said was a content creator, which makes sense. The kids are all over TikTok and Instagram, that kind of thing nowadays. In this content creation model that you speak about,
sure.
It's becoming more saturated. Maybe saturated might not be the word. I don't know if it's oversaturated, but there's more people doing it or not. Maybe there's more consumers as well. Actually, so perhaps maybe it balances out. But I know there's going to be creators out here who have been doing this for longer than the 12 months that you just specified. They may have been doing it, and perhaps maybe strategically they're getting something wrong, or they could be optimizing in a better way that they're not doing right now, and they're still not getting the types of numbers that's going to allow them to do this full time or generate any decent kind of income from it. Is there anything that with the Humble Penny that you and Mary done that helped you to, like, was there some kind of a tipping point or something that you changed or done that helped you to be able to generate more from it?
Sure. There's quite a lot of things, but I can talk to you about
I can imagine, yeah.
So one of them is to build your own email list. Very, very important. The temptation with creating content is that you think the content, the platform is your business. That's a delusion. YouTube's not your business. TikTok's not your business. Instagram, these are not your businesses. They're owned by other people and shareholders, right? Those platforms are effectively marketing channels. They're just doors, like the front door of a house. They're letting you into something. Yeah. The question is what is the business underlying those channels? Those various avenues. What's the actual business? I find having an email list gives you your own power. You are able to look at your data. You're able to speak directly to your own audience and customers. And if you create your own products, which is the next level thing I was going to mention, when you create your own products, you keep 100% of the margins. Whereas if you create on YouTube, for example, the economics, if I remember correctly, they keep 55p for every 100p, right? For your ads. Yeah. So again, your revenue sharing over there because they own the platform, right? But if you create your own thing, you are creating traffic through your own email list. So if I send an email now, a newsletter, tens of thousands of people will get it. That creates traffic. If I created a product, tens of thousands of people will get it instantly, will know about it instantly. I'm not wedded to an algorithm deciding my fate.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I'm in control of the outcome. Yeah, because I'm speaking to people directly. So building your own email list is critical. So you need an email marketing system, obviously, for that. But tied to that, you need to create your own products. Initially, before you get to creating your own products, you actually have to begin marketing other people's products. That's one way of starting out. So people talk about affiliate marketing and that sort of stuff. And that's good. And there's a whole skill around how you actually do that. And it's the underlying thing when it comes to that sort of thing is transparency, being very honest, being very transparent. People don't really make money from it because they're not very honest and not very transparent. But that's a very important foundation for that. But once you've made some money from that, you can then reinvest that money into your own products. Ideally, digital products, but you can also create physical products of your own and create fulfillment around those products. Yeah. And then you start to build from that. Yeah. But those are some of the key items to almost factor in. I think a lot of people who call themselves content creators actually don't have a business. The question is what is the business you're creating? The content is effectively the marketing for that business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The content is not the business. The business sits here. The content is like you sending people with megaphones and going, hey, go out onto that street over there and go and tell people about our business. The content is the marketing channel for something else. It could be that you run a membership. It could be that you run, I don't know, a takeaway joint. Could be that you run a hamper business. Could be like whatever. But there's a business. Could be that you run an education platform that offers corporate workshops. Could be that but there must be something that's the business, yeah, for which the content then acts as marketing. Where I see people get it wrong is they don't actually even have that concept that they need to have a business behind what they're creating content for. The content is just like, I'm putting stuff out and I'm trying to monetize through ads. Okay. The ads shouldn't even be your main like thing. The ads is just like, should be something that just pays for your costs, just pays for, I don't know, your technology, your virtual assistant or whatever. That's kind of how I look at it. If you're able to create something that's sustainable just around your own products, this is where you need to start to look at sustainable business models. So it's why I like memberships. I think it's very powerful because particularly during seasons where people are cost conscious, models like that speak directly to people because you're often offering them 10x the value for what they're getting. So if I'm paying 50 quid a month, I'm getting at least £500 worth of value per month. And if I'm doing that, I'm happy. You know,
membership isn't necessarily going to be Patreon that you're talking about.
Oh, no. I don't even go anywhere near Patreon personally. I mean, other people can, but that's not how I look at it. I look at it as your own membership that you've almost like a self-hosted membership platform that you could run on WordPress, for example, with various plugins created, or you could use another platform where you're very careful about what you're paying in cost, because a lot of the platforms charge you a recurring monthly fee, which you don't want. Yeah, a fee based on number of members. So they say, if you have 300 members, charge as much. If you have 900 members, charge as much. You don't want that. You just want to pay your fixed fee every month, whether you're paying £100 a month or whatever. That's all you're paying. So that way, you're keeping the cost of your platform fixed or pretty much fixed. And then you're working on how you grow your platform. So working on lifetime value of a customer, working on your strategy for onboarding new members, whether it's through organic promo or through paid advertising. There are different ways to go about doing it. But the key is, again, I'm wearing my CFO hat, making sure your costs are really low or reasonable and not rising as things rise. Because that's where you start to have a bit of a problem. If you can have your costs as fixed as possible and as lean as possible, but revenue keeps going up, then you're creating effectively a buffer, and that money can then be reinvested, or more importantly, helping you to build your own wealth.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people forget that the whole point of a business is to help you have some kind of impact, whether it's impacting community or impacting your own family life and your finances.
Can you give some examples of memberships, like types of memberships that would work for, or that you've seen work for content creators?
There are memberships in every niche you can imagine. I run one. So I run Financial Joy Academy. It's a membership. It's that membership, our vision that's helped 10,000 people to become financially independent in the next decade. That's just one example. You can have memberships, like a guy called Chaos, who I've been working with recently. His membership is in public speaking. Yeah, it's called In Demand Speaker. You can go look it up. Pippa, who I worked with, her membership is called Business Analyst School. It helps business analysts. It helps people get into business analysis or helps them level up in business analysis. You can have memberships in the education sector. I've seen memberships for teachers. I've seen memberships teaching people how to play the guitar. I've seen memberships for coding. So it's pretty much in anything you can do. You can have memberships for plumbers. You can have memberships for electricians. Anything you can think of where the key is that you have some specialized knowledge. Yeah. You can have memberships for teaching people how to start YouTube channels. You can have memberships for teaching people how to become bloggers. Yeah. The key is, what is the specialized knowledge that you have? Number one. And are you able to teach that specialized knowledge in a way that creates a transformation? That someone goes from point A to point Z. If you have those ingredients, you can then offer that membership as either a B2B offering. Yeah. So for example, a guy who I was speaking to only yesterday wants to create a membership in risk management for SMEs. SMEs would spend thousands of pounds on risk management, but his membership will offer it at only around £3,000 a year. A small cost, a tax deductible expense for a business, but they will have all their risk management tools, frameworks, knowledge and stuff through his membership. And he does it because he's already a risk manager at work. Yeah. So for me, and this is part of the next level mission for what we're doing with the Humble Penny, is how do we help people who have specialized knowledge create sustainable income streams through a side hustle? Yeah. This is partly what we're doing. I mean, we actually have a thing called the Architect program that we're using to help people to do this. But I see this as a future direction, because if you think about it, with the evolution of technology, artificial intelligence, what have you, the more you're a voice, 1,000 voices, the more you're a voice, and the more you're able to speak in that voice authentically and help people authentically. Yeah. And people see results. The more you're able to do that, the more you're also able to create income in a sustainable way. So if you attach that voice to a sustainable business model and you bring them together, then there's no reason why your business or your side hustle shouldn't work out, because every single month you're getting paid. Yeah. And every single month the people you're helping are moving forward because you've created the environment, the community, the space for them to move forward.
I love it. And I love that the emphasis on the recurring revenue. So it's not like one off here, one off there, or relying on YouTube or other platforms, but building your own ecosystem, your own model, your own framework and everything for you to have ownership and control of that. A few years ago, I think it was in 2020, you was invited by Google onto a content creators incubator.
Yes, YouTube Black.
That was it. Yes.
Yes.
What did you learn on that?
Oh, wow. That, first of all, that was an incredible opportunity, first of all. But what it taught me was the importance of collaboration. There are many things I learned, but one thing was the importance of collaborating with other people. So when it comes to content, so what we're doing right now is a collaboration, and it's made me subscribe more to an abundance mindset, because oftentimes when you're doing your own thing, you're like, I want to hug my ideas, I want to do my own thing, I want to reveal it to people, I want to keep it all to myself. When in actual fact, that's a scarcity driven way of thinking. Yeah. So part of what I learned on that program was seek out other people that you can create opportunities with together. Yeah. And that requires a different way of thinking. Yeah. So whether that be content, whether that be sharing a platform together, whether that be doing an event together, seek out those opportunities and make them happen. So that's the first thing. Second was, I actually learned how YouTube works. Yeah. So like one thing I learned about YouTube is that YouTube, when you're creating content for YouTube, YouTube is actually future content. When people create videos on YouTube, they're waiting for validation now. They post, they're refreshing, they're waiting for the views. They're like, how many views? How many likes? Yeah, that's the wrong mindset. Yeah. YouTube is future content. That means you put the stuff out, no one watches it that much at a minute. Don't worry about it. In 6 months, it will pick up. In a year, it will pick up. Someone might see you somewhere. You said something on a short or a podcast or something else somewhere else. And they're like, wait, I need to look this guy up. And then they start to look up your content on different platforms. So what you want with YouTube is effectively, you want to create your own broadcast. It's your own BBC, your own ITV, your own whatever. It's your own broadcast, right? But it's also your trust building machine. Anyone I come across, where did you hear about the Humble Penny? Like, I watched one of your YouTube videos. Oh, I did. So they feel like they know me. If I come out the street, I came here in a car. If I came on the tube, which I often do, there's guaranteed someone will stop me and go, oh, Ken, I love what you guys do. Came across, I watched this video. Like, the videos are helping people get results, but not only that, it's helping them feel like they know who I am. So they meet me, they're like, oh man, like, we feel like we're brothers or like brothers and sisters. And I'm like, wait, I've never met you before. It's like the first time. But for them, they've known me for so long. They know my frustrations. They know my wins. They know my challenges at work. They know my challenges with my finances, because I've been sharing them as case studies or examples. And I don't even remember I've shared them. They're like, oh, Ken, I remember this one time you cried on this video. So this video I did about, it's called my five worst jobs ever. I did this video and I was doing a video and I was laughing, and then I broke down and started crying because like something I remembered on that video, and I didn't want to stop the video, just tripped something in me. And whenever I meet people, they remember the moments in the videos. I'm like, wow, so it's I think just putting the stuff out there from a content perspective is future content. Don't think of it as like Yeah, I need to get that validation right now. I've put it out there. I've created it. It's quality. It's value. It's authentic. It's consistent. I've put it out there, and then I'm expecting it to create results in the future. So that's another thing I learned on the YouTube Black thing. And the other thing I also learned was that, and this might surprise you, is that, and I guess it's a weird one, is that YouTube, this is going to sound weird, but YouTube, I don't know, and it's my personal experience that it's weird, but the color of your skin actually matters on YouTube. You might not have thought about that.
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay. I've personally noticed that even in our niche, people who are, non-Black people who started their YouTube channels way after we've started fly more. They take off a lot quicker. And I've just realized that, and I noticed this actually when we actually started Humble Penny, it takes a while for people to trust people who look like me. It takes a while. People who are non-Black people to trust Black people, particularly when it comes to their finances and things like that. So there are other unwritten things that hold people back, which is actually partly why they created this thing, focused purely on Black creators, because they realized that on the platforms that Black people on the YouTube platform have certain things that hold them back. It's not written anywhere. It's not in some like policy that's public or wherever, but Black creators know, that they could be a lot bigger on the platform in various ways. And a lot's being done, by the way, to address those gaps that exist, but those gaps exist for real. And I know it, even in my own niche. In fact, there's a reason why, I can segment all my data on YouTube by different things. I can tell you their locations. I can tell you their ages. I can tell you what content they watch, but I can't tell you what ethnicity people are.
Yeah, I've checked that.
It's who's the only way I know who's watching my channel is when I look in the comments. I'm like, oh, that person looks Black, or that person looks white or Asian. That's the only way I know. There's nothing that's public. So again, that tells you there's something about that and trust that affects non-Black people, affects Black people on the platform, that means that, and that means, in fact, when you think about it, because the way I'm addressing that is you have to be radically authentic on the platform such that people then come to you because they like you or know you or trust you for different things. Some people come to us because we're a couple. Some people come to me because I used to work in finance or an accountancy. Some people come because we are a Christian couple. Some come because we're a family and we've got children. Some come because our content is highly valuable. We offer a lot of value per minute for each content that we put out. So people come for different things. So the key is to be as radically authentic as you can be on the platform, such that even if you only attracted 1,000 people, there are 1,000 people who are behind you. You might have you heard of the 1,000 True Fans
no.
old blog post?
No.
So when I started blogging years ago in 2017, one of the things that inspired me to keep going was this concept of the 1,000 True Fans. And the concept simply was this: if you have 1,000 true people who pay you £100 in a year, that's it. Each of them pay you £100 in a year, you will have made £100,000. So you don't need a humongous audience. You don't need millions of people. You don't even need tens of thousands of subscribers or whatever. What you need is radical authenticity. And if you create radical authenticity, you attract people who are true fans of your work because you're helping them out. You're helping them to create results. And if you create products or services, and provided you're generating about £100 or $100 thereabouts per person per year, then you've got a six-figure business. From just 1,000 people, So that idea alone made me think, okay, to keep this platform sustainable, we're going to focus on quality, value, authenticity, consistency, putting out our energy, letting people know who we are for real, rather than doing what people do on social media, letting them know, and thinking about things from their perspective first, giving them the value and then seeing what happens after that.
When, as you're speaking, so that True Fans thing, I've heard something similar, but I do love that concept. And it's about creating the best quality content as possible, not necessarily worrying about, I don't know, stretching it out or whatever, because just create good quality stuff. And that radical authenticity, I haven't thought about it like that before. But the more you speak about it, the more it makes sense. That's something I try to do with 1000 Voices, more so on the value side. So when I first started, and you learn over time this content creation game, but when I first started, I used to focus a lot on whatever and just make the videos as long as possible. And over time, we move on, and I try, and with people we bring on, it's always experts in some particular area, and then we try and talk to them, extract as much value as possible. So talk to them about whatever their area of expertise is, and just learn and come away feeling educated and having learned a lot. But something that a lot of people struggle with still is creating that great quality content, perhaps that radical authenticity piece, that being super vulnerable on camera and everything. And you might have some true fans. Like we've got some really good people who send us messages, who have supported us off camera, like in some serious ways, who really believe in what we're doing. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people as well who are like that. But the piece people struggle with is the scale. So even getting to that 1,000, could have been doing it for 12 months, 24 months, and then you've got 10 true fans, which isn't enough to be able to generate enough revenue. And I think when you get to that stage, it's like you create the best, you obviously create the highest quality content as possible, but still strategically, like what can people be doing to at least get some more scale and get more eyes on their stuff?
So I think the format you create your videos in matter. Format is very important. So I remember when we started the Humble Penny YouTube channel, within 3 months, we became monetized on a platform. So we'd got to, I think it's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, something like that. And I'll tell you what I think made that happen, right? Is the format was very important because our format was very simple. It was literally one camera, and I'm talking to the camera like this. And I'm trying to keep the video to maybe 10 to 15 minutes long, right? The one thing I find with every piece of video you create, the key question you have to ask yourself is what is the transformation for this video? For the person who's watching, what are they going to get out of it? Think of every video as a story. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end. And by the time that's happened, there's a story arc at the end. There's a transformation for the viewer. The thumbnail is, think of another way to look at the story is think of the thumbnail as the beginning of the story. The video that they're going to watch once they clicked at it as the middle of the story, and then your outro as the end of the story, right? So if you think of it from this story perspective, question is how do you take a piece of an idea to tell a story? I'll give you a really practical example. This is probably one of the most high value like return on content I've done in more recently. I did this only yesterday, right? What day is it today? Saturday. So it was on Thursday. I'll give you an example, right? So we publish every week, and I'm like, oh yeah, we need to put out a video on YouTube channel. And I've been busy. It's been so busy. I had these workshops and things I had to do. I haven't got a video to put out yet. And I sat down and I was watching this one guy in Kenya talk about something on YouTube. I was watching him talk about finances and how they manage money locally. But he brought it down to like almost the unit level, like basics. It gave me an idea and I thought, okay, let me create a video that will help people realize the importance of sacrifice for their finances. If you sacrifice 1 year of your finances or 1 year of savings, what that could lead to in your finances. I literally sat down. I planned it in 20 minutes. Sat down with my notepad. Mary was sitting there, notepad. I'm like, intro, wrote it. I needed a hook. How would I intro this video to keep people watching after 30 seconds? Created the hook. Okay, so the hook is, there are 2 core ingredients you need to completely transform your finances. That's the hook. So people who are watching are waiting for the 2 ingredients. Then I had brought out my board. I had a small little wooden board. I wrote like create a Venn diagram, and I put one of the ingredients in there. So that meant, as a viewer, you're waiting to find out what the second ingredient is. Yeah, so I'm taking you on a journey and telling you a story. Yeah. Then in the video, I'm illustrating and I'm telling why these 2 ingredients matter. And the 2 ingredients, by the way, are intention and sacrifice. Yeah. And then after that, I then did an illustration of how sacrificing, say, 10% of your income per month and saving and investing it could lead to something. So, for example, if you earn $3,000 a month, if you sacrifice and save 50% of it per month, that turns into 18,000 pounds in a year.
Yeah.
1,500 times 12,
Yeah.
right? 18 grand a year is a 5% deposit on the average house in the UK. That's your property bought in a year, right? But because I brought it down to the unit level, not only did I finish that video and wrap it up in 15 minutes without any editing, I just literally turn on, hey guys, finished, turn off, published. The video took off, content were wild. People were like, this one woman commented and said, Ken, I am a single person and I never believed buying a property was within my reach until you explained it on your board at the unit level. What am I really saying? For anybody who's creating anything right now, you need to begin with what is the transformation people will get? And how do I turn that transformation into a story? Beginning, middle, and end. And think of a simple format. The simplest format is, here's a camera. I'm talking to the camera. After that, I end. But all the while, I'm keeping it energetic. I'm keeping my personality coming across. I'm offering a lot of value per minute. So you're not waffling on. You're literally like value, end. People are like, wow, I got a lot of value from that. What do? They subscribe, they like the video, they comment, and they share it. All these create engagement. All these send the right signals to the YouTube algorithm or, wherever. And that content keeps getting recommended to people.
Let's move on a little bit and talk about the mortgage.
Yes.
That 25-year mortgage I got paid off in 7 years.
Come on.
How'd you do it?
Okay. So most people get, obviously, if you're fortunate enough to buy a home, most people buy a house with a mortgage, right? And the trend's changing now. The 25 years is actually now a bit of a privilege because people are now like, I need to buy a 30-year mortgage, 35-year mortgage, because, cost of living is very difficult and house prices have been rising periodically. Now, how do you actually pay off your mortgage? Well, if you wanted to pay it off earlier, well, the key thing really is, firstly, it needs to be a goal for somebody. If your goal is just to get by each month and pay your mortgage each month, that's fine. That's a good goal to have. But if you wanted to actually pay it off early, you need to kind of understand how compound interest works. And in simple terms, if you borrow lots of money, which most people do, and you're paying lots of interest on that money, that debt is creating more debt every single day. Yeah, it's simple. Every single day, the bank are calculating interest for you and they're adding it onto your debt. So that debt is building even more every single day. Now, if you want to stop that mechanism happening, one way you do it is to begin to overpay. But I mean, if they've given you, say, imagine your mortgage every month is £800 a month, and you decided to start to overpay by £100 a month. We worked out when we were on this journey that £100 a month equated to around 3 years being wiped out if you had around 250k mortgage. Yeah. 3 years gets wiped out if you make an extra overpayment. So overpaying was a key strategy, which is why, coming back to our earlier conversation, side hustles become important, because if you can't overpay from your existing salary because you are so committed, then you need other ways. You need to earn more money for that to be able to happen, obviously after paying your taxes. So overpaying is a core strategy. And for us, we started very little and we worked our way up to a point where, after, a few years of doing the overpayments, we got to a point where we were overpaying by up to £1,000 and beyond per month in overpayments. But that meant, again, that sacrifice. It means you're saying, actually, I'm not spending money on this, I'm not spending money on that, or I'm working harder to make more money on this. The key thing is to realize that every single person can overpay if they wanted to. You begin very small. And practically speaking, the way you do it is you call your bank up and say, can I have the sort code and account number for me to pay my overpayments into? And ask them, what's your mortgage roll number? They'll give you the mortgage roll number. You set up a standing order from your bank account, pay it into that sort code and account number for the bank, and put your mortgage roll number as the reference. So when they reconcile your transactions every month, they'll go, here's his or her normal monthly payment. Here's his or her overpayment.
Mm.
Those two payments alone, every single month, help to reduce the impact of compounding. Yeah. And another thing that really helped us was remortgaging. So we remortgaged, and at that time we'd started off at a really high interest rate back in like 2012, 2013. We'd remortgaged to a lower rate and added an overpayment of £500. And what that did in a day was it wiped 9 years of our mortgage in one day, making one phone call to the bank. So that meant finding the right mortgage broker to find the right deal, remortgaging to a lower rate, adjusting our budget as a family to carve out £500 that we would commit to overpaying on our mortgage on our home. So when you do stuff like that, it creates a massive motivation to see this huge mountain of debt, and it is debt, as something that you could potentially get rid of. Now, not everybody does this, because some people will argue, like, why even overpaying? Why don't you just invest the money only in the stock market, and make your returns there and then use that to pay off your mortgage? Some people can do that and it could work for them. But for us, we chose that dual strategy of overpaying as well as investing. So we're still putting money into our pensions through work and into our ISAs and so on. But it was about organizing ourselves such that we're like, okay, we're going to keep our lifestyle as low as possible. Not going out every single week, not, watching our house budget, not just buying whatever we want when we get to the shops, watching what car we drive. We still drive the same car from back then today. In fact, if you saw me, my wife just dropped me off here to come to this podcast. It's still the same car we're still driving. We haven't upgraded because we're financially independent. We still have the same car, So it's about keeping that lifestyle as stable as possible without the creep, even if you have a pay rise. If you had a pay rise, we use the pay rise over payments. If I had a bonus, I use most of the bonus. Sometimes we booked a holiday or part of it. Sometimes we overpaid on a mortgage. So it begins with a goal. It has to be a goal that you want to actually achieve. But beyond that, why would that goal matter to you? Why would it change your life? So we came up with our why and why it mattered. And part of our why was I didn't really want to carry on working in the corporate sector for the rest of my life. I didn't want to keep chasing that, what do they call them? Recruitment agent calls you. Oh, I've got another job. I could try and headhunt you. Oh, they're offering 10K more. I don't want to play that game. I haven't got time for that, right? I wanted my own life and my own destiny more. I wanted to be able to control my own outcome. I wanted to be able to say, actually, this week I'm not working. Don't feel like it. I'm taking today off. I just feel like taking today off. I'm going to go to the cinema with my wife at 12 noon because I can.
Yeah.
Why not? Right? So I wanted that life. Right? So for me, what anybody else was saying, I didn't really care about. People say, oh yeah, you shouldn't pay off your mortgage. Yeah. Your views don't really matter right now because this is the goal we set ourselves. As long as my wife and I agree to that goal, that's all that matters because we know how it will change our lives. We know what catalyst, what it will kick off, what domino it will kick off in our finances. We understood how debt worked. We understand how compounding works. We understand how investing works. We understand how money works. Because we understood those things, we could design our own lives of what we call financial joy, our own lives of financial joy. That's all that mattered for us. That decision to go on that journey is partly what's led us here. Because paying off your mortgage is only one aspect. You can still invest in different things. You can invest in properties and debt. You can invest in the stock market. You can invest in commodities. You can do whatever you want. You can invest in your business. But there isn't one pathway to financial freedom. There isn't just like one prescribed way. There are different pathways that people can follow to get to where they want to get to.
As you're speaking, something comes to mind. So you and your wife really worked together on building the wealth that you've got right now. I don't know if you feel comfortable answering this. If you don't, then we can move on. But do you two have a joint account? Do you manage it like that?
So that is a brilliant question. So we have this concept in our home that every penny that comes into our home is the family money, not my money or Mary's money. Now, that's very important because one struggle we had was years ago where Mary was on maternity leave, for example, and her income had taken a massive cut. And I was working and I felt like, pressure and working and what have you, earning. And the question is she's looking after children and doing needs to be done at home, and also working in her own way and earning, bringing some income in. But the incomes were like out of sync completely. Like one's much higher than the other, and what have you. And that creates it creates a pressure, it creates a discomfort. Yeah. So we thought, you know what? Like, it doesn't really matter who's earning what. All that matters is, like, if we make 3K this month and it came from both of us, that's our money, the family. And then out of that, we can then set up a standing order to both of our ISAs, or pay for our direct debits, or like whatever we're paying for in a month. So we have a joint account, and that helps us. We still do today, but we also have individual accounts. So if there's any like spending money we need to put into those individual accounts, we do, and then we have certain rules. Like, for example, if anyone's going to spend more than £50 from our account, you need to tell the other person. And that helps, because it's like, I don't want to be surprised when I look at it again, like, babe, what is that? I mean, who paid for, I don't want to be surprised. In the same way, she doesn't want to be surprised when she logs in and sees, like, I've been on Amazon, like, I've like clicked order and bought something that we hadn't even talked about. So I think this is particularly important for couples, communication, because on that journey of building wealth, you have to be aligned. And I know this is a challenging thing for people, because, and I tell you why this is particularly important, because I've watched my parents. Yeah. And one of their biggest regrets is that they could have got so much further in their wealth building journey and planning for retirement. So they're now retired. They could have got so much further if they knew what was going on in each other's bank accounts. They were like, oh yeah, this is my money, this is my finances. The other one's like, this is my money, this is my finances. You got like two strangers with their own silos, supposedly trying to achieve goals together. Ain't gonna happen. All this like, oh, I'll do this, you do this, I'll do this. So you're almost divided even before you've started. Now, I'm not saying there's one prescribed way of doing it. Some ways work for different people. Some people are like, no, guys, like, our separate accounts work for us. And that's great. The key thing is communicate. Come up with a system that works for you. But beyond that, have your North Star goal. Have the thing you're working towards. For us, it was we wanted to become financially independent. We defined what that was for us. We're very clear this is where we wanted to get to. And here are the core smaller goals, because that's a much bigger goal. What are the goals? Okay, we want to pay off our mortgage. We want to have this much in our pensions, in our ISAs. We want to create this type of business. We want to, there's like a pathway to getting there. But the key thing is communicating, just making sure you're both on the same page.
Yeah. I love it. Me and my wife, we spoke about opening a joint account. We haven't done it yet. It's no good reason why. Probably it just hasn't been a priority, I suppose, in time and all of that. So you push it back and say, we'll do it this week, we'll do it this week. But we have the same goals. We have the same financial goals. It was like, we might as well just put our money together and work together, as opposed to one other person over here, one person over there. And I've realized that in recent years, anything of note that I have achieved has really been driven by my wife in a number of different ways, whether that's through encouragement, whether that's through financial support, a lot of financial support, whether in a lot of ways. And I've realized, we do build a lot faster when we do things together. We spoke about that a lot, and that's why that question comes to mind. And also ties back to what you spoke about a little bit earlier on about the YouTube Black that was on, and talking about collaboration, about building together. Just, you can only move so far by yourself. When you do stuff with other people, you can go 10 times. It's not like a one-to-one relationship. You can go 10 times faster.
Yeah. Unity is an advantage.
Yeah.
Unity is an advantage. A lot of the world teaches you that you need to kind of do things just by yourself, and like you should. Again, this is scarcity driven. You think about what scarcity mindset is. It's this mindset that there's only one pie in the world, and if he takes a piece of the pie, then there's less for me. Yeah. When in actual fact, multiple pies exist. Multiple pies can be created. There's never been so much money in the world compared to today. Every single day that passes, more money is created. Never. So like, you then ask yourself, well, why are we like, why do we have this scarcity thing that exists? Why are we taught to, stab each other down and like compete and fight each other, when in actual fact we could find a way of achieving an outcome of 10 by combining 2 and 2 together. Like, you can find a way of getting to a bigger outcome. So on a much more unit level, we demonstrated that in our home. And we've also demonstrated that with our siblings. In my world, with my parents, we have family businesses. We have things where we've created, where we've all had to come together and had a vision of, we would do much better if we all pulled together and did this thing. And we share this in our book, actually, about like one way you can get on the property ladder, for example, is to joint venture with other people. If it's for investment purposes, have a contract behind it, get into an agreement. It's about building trust. And again, this is where relationship matter, because relationship currency is the most important currency. It's the most important type of capital is your relationship capital. If you're able to really build very solid relationships with the right intentions behind them, with trust being built over time, then you're opening, like, wealth shouldn't even be like a thing. Like, you'll become wealthy. I mean that's like a given. That's because you're focusing on the right things. You're building a much more solid foundation. You're not just thinking about yourself, basically. Yeah.
You, a few years ago, you and your wife both read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that essentially changed your life, changed your life and everything. And you've gone on this journey, you've gone together, and now you're here. You alluded to the book that you and your wife have written. And I'm assuming, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or give a bit of background on the book actually, but I'm assuming you're on a journey both on a mission to essentially do the same kind of thing, to change other people's lives, and the 10,000 people or families that you're working towards helping to become financially independent through Humble Penny, through all your other ventures, through your book, which is another part of that puzzle.
It's another,
Can you give some background on the book and also what people can expect from it?
Okay. Thank you. So the book's titled Financial Joy. Financial Joy is a 10-week plan to help you banish debt, grow your money, and unlock financial freedom. I've not seen any book created like this. And this book is speaking to the UK market and beyond. So whether you're in the US or Canada, you can apply it. But it's written from the perspective of a black couple in the UK who have children who've become financially independent in the UK in their 30s, right? It's written from that perspective. Now, the reason I mention that is because a lot of people who go on this goal of achieving these goals are usually like, single white male or double income and no kids, and like all these things. And you're like, yeah, you guys, you don't even know, you haven't even had the experiences. You don't even know what black tax is. Like, you don't even, like, you haven't like overcome certain challenges, to get to where you are, right? So this book is written by people who have overcome a lot to get to a place. That's the first thing to mention. So the book is arranged in weeks. So you got week 1 to 10. So each week is focusing on a different area. So part 1 of the book is laying the foundations for financial joy. There's 3 parts. Part 2, the middle, is building financial joy, and part 3 is looking ahead towards financial freedom. Now, the book takes you on a journey from the very beginning of actually beginning with designing what your life of financial joy looks like. What does financial joy even mean? Financial joy essentially is bringing together 2 worlds we never associate with each other. The financial world, which is, I'm trying to work towards becoming financially free. I'm trying to achieve my goals, and that is what I want. However, most of us prioritize that so much at the expense of what you actually need, which is the joy, the fun, the purpose, the family life, the intentional work, all those things that we put aside at the sacrifice of trying to become financially free. What we're saying is these 2 worlds can exist together. You can have wealth and well-being together. Your wealth shouldn't be the cost to your happiness or your joy. But how do you do that? So in the first part of the book, we'll help you to design that. It's very, very practical. So each week ends with around 3 lessons you've learned in the week, and then 3 action steps, things to do immediately in the book. And then the book walks you through from the very beginning, where you are laying that foundation, setting what financial joy looks like for you specifically and for everybody else. Then it walks you through the key things you need. So behavior and tackling behavioral biases. Then it walks you through setting the your goals for the future. We have a framework we created for how you do that. Then it gets you onto how you look at debt and how you banish debt. But debt can be used in two ways. I'm talking here expensive debt. Debt can be used in a different way for building wealth. And we show you how to do that through the likes of other asset classes like property and the various strategies for doing that. Then we'll walk you through growing your money in the middle part. So how do you start a side hustle? How do you grow a side hustle? How do you make money from it? To how do you invest your money? The entire thing about the stock market. How do you begin in the stock market? What exactly should you invest in? What exactly does a humble penny invest in? It's all in the book. Then we'll move you on to part 3 of the book, which is how do you then start to protect your wealth? Legacy, writing your will, life insurance, working together as a couple for those who are in couple relationships. How do you raise financially savvy children? It's all included. So this book effectively takes you through a journey on a week by week basis of designing your life of financial joy, which is your life of, as you're working towards your desired financial goal, which could include becoming financially free one day or financially independent. But how do you keep the joy at the center of your finances such that you're not living, you only live once at one extreme or extreme frugality at the other end? You found that balance of, I'm working towards my goals, but I don't have FOMO. I'm also enjoying. I'm also traveling. I'm also doing the things that I want to do. And that's what the book's about.
So it's like a very practical.
Oh, it's super practical. Like there's work to do every week in the book. Literally very, very practical. It's available on Amazon as well as every retailer, whether it's W.H. Smith's, Waterstones, all those shops. You can go pick it up, pick the book up. It's available for pre-order as of the time we're having this chat. And I want to give a quick shout out to everybody who's been pre-ordering. I've been getting word from our editor that the pre-orders are rising, which is fantastic. And that's very important for they call them these bestseller lists, so if you want to make one of these bestseller lists, the pre-orders help. So if people are watching this right now, we'd say, please go and pre-order. It's the only way. We can't do it without people pre-ordering. So we're really, we're asking people, go and get the book because it'll be absolutely life-changing. There isn't a book like it out there in the marketplace, in my personal opinion, written by people like us who've actually done what they're sharing. Not like theory, what they've read somewhere or whatever. They've actually done it and they're willing to share, That's what the book is about. So yeah,
no, that's really good, and I like that. And I feel like that last part you said, guy. Not even throwing shade, but I do come across a lot of people, some financial people on socials who haven't done it and who are sharing on things that they haven't done and who are probably things they've read which may or may not be true, but you don't have the experiences and it's not the same.
Yeah.
If you literally haven't done it before.
Yeah. If you've got the lived experience, you can tell your lived experience. And that's what I think is very unique about our journey. When we began, people were listening to us because they're like, I can relate to these guys.
You're just talking about.
Like people can relate in different ways. They can go, oh, I relate to your struggles. And other people are like, I relate to your immigrant struggles. Mary grew up in Hackney before Hackney became gentrified. She lived there for 27 years. Like she's known what it's like to kind of live that like life of trying to get by, right? I've known that life of beginning from zero, immigrating, starting from ground zero with your entire family and trying to build up from there, And if we can do that in 20, 25 years, imagine what other people can do with the access, because when you see people you can relate to doing something, you can go, do you know what? I can do it. We're getting more people telling us they become mortgage free. I was sharing on it. Go and check out our Instagram stories. I shared one yesterday. I get them once in a while, comments go, Ken, I've just paid off my mortgage. I'm 39. Boom, done. Because they've seen people they could relate to do it. Yeah. And so that's why our work now has helped more than 5 million people to improve their relationship with money on different platforms, whether it's on YouTube. Like if you go back to whether it's on our website, we have more than 40,000 people read our blogs per month, different parts of the world, whether it's on Instagram. So for us, it's about how do we help people move forward, and tell those stories. And we don't even we probably only hear even less than 1% of the transformations that we hear back on. So for me, that's where the buzz is the excitement is I'm excited. In fact, Mary and I literally say, this book is going to be like a light to people's feet. So that you're like, here you go ahead and change your family's destiny.
That's amazing. If you could go back to that 14-year-old yourself coming here with nothing, with all the knowledge you have now, what would you do differently?
Um, Firstly, I'd say the two things I'd want to be learning very early as a young person. These are two things I'm prioritizing for our children. First is I will be learning the importance of looking after my personal finances. So learning how to make my money work. Investing is a very key skill to learn, a bit like learning how to drive a car. Yeah. How do I turn a pound into £2 or a dollar into $2 over a set period of time? Yeah. I'd be learning that skill. So secondly, I'd be learning how to become an entrepreneur, because I believe very strongly that whether you've got a job, or anything of that nature, you can have your job and still be enterprising on the side. You can even be enterprising in your day job. It's about tapping into your inbuilt creativity to solve problems. Yeah. So as a 14-year-old, I'd want to be in environments where I'm like, I'm shadowing someone who's doing some things and I'm learning from them. I'm in that environment where I'm tapping into their knowledge. I'm like, oh, how's this business making money? Oh, how do you send invoices? Oh, what is a VAT return? Oh, what's this? Right? And I'm learning stuff. How do you do a business meeting? How do you write a pitch for something? How do you create a media kit? How do you create a video? How does that video make money? I want to learn those things as a 14-year-old. Because if I acquire that knowledge, I'm able to deploy a lot quicker using technology. I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet. And if I know how to create money and I know how to invest money, I'm made. Because one pathway helps you to build the money coming in, the inflows. The other path helps you make money work on money. And if at the core foundation, you're not driven by the Joneses, you're not driven by social media, you're actually like, you know what? I'm simple, man. I'm happy with a £20 watch. I'm happy just looking like, evergreen. I'm just happy with that. I don't need like some badge on my top for me to feel validated. As long as I get that wisdom from somebody, then you could become a multimillionaire. You could become whatever you want to be from a financial perspective, but also remembering that like money is not everything. So your health's very important. Your family is very important. Your well-being is very important. All those elements. Again, this is why, whenever I think about finances, I always have to bring the joy, because you need both. Wealth is what you want, but joy is what you need.
Amazing. I've learned so much. I've thought like a financial masterclass. So before we wrap up, have you got any final words for us?
Okay. Firstly, go and order our book. Please do. It really matters that our work is seen, because that work will have impact. So head over, order Financial Joy everywhere you can, and buy one for a friend or a family member on any of the platforms, Amazon and so on. Pre-order and order the book. But in terms of final words, I just want to say that no matter where you are right now, there are 2 ingredients that can help you transform your life in the next year. Call it the next 365 days. As I mentioned earlier, but it's worth reminding people. Those 2 ingredients are intention. The first is intention. Intentions are, what are your goals? What do you want out of your life? If you've got a partner, sit down with them tonight. What do you guys want? What is all this working for? Like 10 years from now, what do you want? What life do you want for yourself? Paint a picture. Pick out a sheet of A3. Draw the picture. Intention. Be very clear, because this helps you stop living other people's lives, and it helps you build a level of self-awareness and a level of internal culture that means that you are operating with a sense of purpose every day. That's intention. The second ingredient is sacrifice. You can't have everything at the same time. There's a trade-off that needs to happen. You can't say, oh, I want to go on the property ladder, but at the same time, you're booking 5 holidays in a year. Or like you book an Uber Eats or what's the other one? Just Eat or whatever, every single week. Or you are spending however you want. Or every single month, you're tapping that thing, you're tapping your watch, you're tapping things everywhere you go, but you're not tracking your finances, you're not measuring. We know foundationally, what gets measured gets improved. So you need to have certain foundational things, but at the core of them is sacrifice. You need to give some things up, even for a season, to get something else out. But you wouldn't know what you want until you had that intention, that first ingredient. And then you say, okay, what will I give up to get what I want. But remember, it's for a season. And then finally, to wrap it up, I'd say, be patient. Things take time. Just because Ken and Mary did this in a number of years doesn't mean you have to. Or just because that person is achieving that goal faster doesn't mean you have to. Things take time. Wealth building takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. The key is to make sure that you are enjoying your life. This life is short. My brother-in-law died almost a year ago at 39 years old. Yeah. My sister's husband. Yeah. And I've been dealing with that loss, and I'm still dealing with it today. So whilst you're working towards all these goals, remember you've got the life now. Count your blessings. Enjoy it every day. Be intentional about spending time with you if you've got children. Spend time with them. If you've got a partner, spend time with them. Spend time with yourself. Don't leave your calendar to be jacked up with so many things booked in without any spaces. Make space to enjoy your life. And if you look at life that way, every day is intentional. Every day should be fun. Every day you should be grateful. You should say, look, I thank God for this life, man. I've got it. I'm here. Like, I'm going to enjoy today. I'm going to go out there and put some work in and do and operate with some intention. I think when you bring all these together, then you're going to be living an amazing life. That's how I'm going to end on.
That's great. That's great. I feel like I said I've learned so much. so much. And if you're listening to this, we'll have a link to the book in the description as well. So you can check that out and pre-order that. And that's that. So thank you for coming to the podcast once again, Ken. You had the amazing Ken Okorafor from The Humble Penny. And for now, people, we're out.